We are day 265 of the quarantine, or maybe it's more like 10 days. It's tough to be certain. So we're going to talk about coronavirus and the COVID-19. I am Kyle Walker, being joined this time by Joe Klassen, and this is the Hitting the Wall podcast. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Our special guest of the, monthly is back. Joe, how you doing, buddy?
Well, man, I'm doing okay. I'm up in my new neighborhood now, and got myself all moved up to the Leavenworth.
Leavenworth.
You know, I moved up here. That you insert whatever prison joke you want. And, I moved up here to Leavenworth, and about the time for them to shut town down.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, this dual screen podcast we're going to do tonight actually has nothing to do with you moving away. It has everything to do with the national quarantine that has been placed upon everybody.
This stuff that says, "Hey, I'm not supposed to be near Kyle because I might make him sick."
That's right. Social distancing. Social distancing is the key.
Oh, yeah,
Which for a pastor and a hugger must be your own personal hell.
It is absolutely horrible, man. I was sharing with somebody the other day that we had a gentleman in our congregation who passed right after this social distancing thing hit, and it's the hardest thing in the world not to be able to sit there with his family and hold his hand or give him a hug and be able to provide that comfort, because as we all know, words are only so comforting.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, it's weird when they came out with the list of the essential and the non-essential things. I couldn't believe that funerals were actually there. Funerals were put as a non-essential thing. Now, I get it. When you gather more than 10 people, you're in violations. But to say that a funeral on the whole is a non-essential, I don't know if I fully agree with that.
It's a tough deal. I do know that, here's the thing. Funerals are considered non-essential. Burials are not.
Oh.
So they'll still do the burial for a lot of people. And I've watched it happen here because right across the street from our church is the largest cemetery in Leavenworth County. And I watched this happen where the hearse came, had the lights and the sirens and everything leading it there, but no other cars.
Right.
So they gave it the police escort. They got to the gate, and the grave digger guys came and grabbed and got the body, got the coffin, and they wouldn't even let the hearse go into the cemetery.
Oh wow, man!
So
these are some strange times.
Yeah, it is weird, and so it's a really an interesting and difficult thing to, like you said, as being a pastor and a hugger. I mean, seriously, man, I was telling somebody earlier, I said, I moved into this new neighborhood and I can't even meet my neighbors. And they were like, well, yeah, you can. I was like, no. See, because unless this happens, I haven't met them.
Right. Yeah, if you're not shaking hands, you haven't actually met a person.
Yeah. I mean, beyond that, I'm just yelling at them across my yard. And
well, you'll do that anyway, but for different reasons.
For totally different reasons, man that says get off my grass when but I've been that since I was 26 years old. So
right.
But it is what it is. So it is an interesting season. I am not a guy who's ever going to say this is a new norm, because norm for me means a potential permanency.
Right.
And I think we've seen that that's not what this is. This is a season. It's a difficult season, but it's just a season. I have a pastor buddy in China.
Oh my.
Who I got a note from on Facebook earlier today, and he was talking about about the return to normal.
Right.
That has begun to happen there. That they it took some time. It took about 3 months, but there's a beginning of a return to normal. Crowds are beginning to gather again. People are beginning to get back together again. The churches have reopened, and he says at least in his area they haven't seen another domestic case of this in a while, but they've shut down all international travel coming in.
Right.
So eradicated, or as eradicated as it can be across the globe. I mean, we talk about other things being eradicated. You talk about smallpox and things. Well, you can still find smallpox in certain areas of the world.
Sure.
We just know how to fix it now.
Right. Yeah, and soon we'll need to get to the point where we know how to fix this. Doesn't sound like they're quite there yet, which is why we are all locked up inside of our homes.
I did see that they approved today the use of a drug that they use for malaria.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard about that. And I know the president has spoken about that a few times. And yeah, they're kind of throwing it past clinical trials and saying, if someone's about to, kick out because of this, let's give this a try. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, the same thing that was already about to happen.
Exactly. So, but this whole Corona thing, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, I'm not trying to disparage the beer company by any stretch. This, I like the way you put that. This is not the new norm, but I will say that the way that people are behaving is certainly insanely abnormal from what is, what we have usually gotten from people. All you have to do is take a look at social media. Okay, I didn't know that I had so many infectious disease experts on my personal Facebook, friend list. I'm shocked at everyone who is now an expert on infectious diseases. A few months ago, they were all experts on, politics, and before that, diplomatic ties across the world. So, I have a very vast group of friends. But man, if you just look at social media, the way that people are behaving, what I think, and this is the point we're going to get to tonight, I can almost see the deterioration of everyone's positive mental state or their good mental health. And we've always said that this was a show about mental health. And, I feel like for a while, everyone was kind of on this little upswing, and then this happened. And now we're on the downside of the roller coaster. We're getting that, that G-force kind of free fall going. And I know that you've seen it. So Joe, why don't you jump into that, the mental health aspect of this? What are you seeing both as pastor, as someone who's in a different town than I am, and who runs in different circles than I do?
Sure. And I think that I want to talk about this on two fronts. One is, and I'll get to, is the more personal front.
Yeah.
But then there also is the front of just what I've seen in other people, and what I've seen in other people is an immense amount of fear.
Yeah.
And I'm not ever going to disparage anyone's fear, but because fear in the moment. Yeah, I think sometimes you can look back on fear and say it's irrational, but in the moment, it's the most rational thing you're experiencing.
Sure.
I'll never disparage anybody's fear, because there's things that I'm afraid of. I've got a younger sister who is she's getting trained and is about to become. She's a registered nurse, and she had just recently hired on to be a registered nurse in an OR, but they're transitioning her into the ICU.
Yeah.
And so there's fear, because what we're learning is different than what we had learned before, which was that there are, this thing is not age it doesn't discriminate by age here, no. And so, and Sarah's young and in good health, but still, and so I'm seeing a lot of fear in a lot of people, and it's manifesting itself in just odd behavior.
Yeah, odd. Odd is the best way to put it.
But I was listening to this thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Malcolm Gladwell.
I am not.
You might want to look him up. He's quality listen. But he was talking about how people respond in times of crisis, and how it only takes one person to over respond, to overreact to something, and then everyone else around them will in response to that because it's something they can control.
Yeah.
And we see this with the toilet paper.
Lord.
Where people are, one or two people who went in and said, "Oh, whoa, something's, they're about to shut down the world. I need toilet paper for the next 6 months."
Right,
and then
right.
around them looked and said, "Okay, wait, we have to respond to this because we need ours and we don't want to run out." So they're grabbing a whole bunch. And it's not because it's a fear-based response.
Yes.
And we can look at this and realize that, that there's been other times in we see it whenever time that Gary Lezak gets on TV, or one of those guys gets on TV and talks about Snowmageddon or Snowpocalypse.
Yep, and the stores, there's a run on the grocery stores. It's the I think I mentioned this on a show before, but it's the French toast scale, because everyone runs out for eggs and milk and bread, which is everything you need to make French toast. So it's how bad is the storm going to be on the French toast scale?
Yeah, eggs and milk and bread, because those are things that never go bad, I guess.
Well, except all three of that would be wrong.
That's what I'm getting at. But it's what people can control during those moments.
Right.
And people worrying because every time somebody sniffles,
Yeah.
And I'm worried about this on the front, not because I'm worried about that everybody's going to get sick, but we're walking into allergy season.
Oh, we're headlong into allergy season. Yeah.
We're starting to bloom. Pollen count is up. Ragweed growing like crazy. People are going to start sneezing all the time.
Yes.
And if every time somebody sneezes, they think they need to run to the emergency room because of this, man, fear can lead to all sorts of different things. And I think that it can lead to irrational behavior, but can also lead to irrational emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I've been seeing is that it tends to lead towards mass amounts of anger or large bouts of depression.
Yes.
And I've seen them both.
Mm-hmm.
I've fielded both types of phone calls, and and you see it when you're out in the community. Either a lot of people are either walking with their head down, or they seem to be walking with a chip on their shoulder right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've seen both of those.
And it's one of those things where it's like, man, I struggle with I struggle with watching this of how do you turn that around? Because once you get to the point of irrational, it's hard to make that shift.
Correct.
And so irrational emotions are hard to turn around. And I think that when this is all said and done, we're going to all have to offer everybody a lot of grace.
Yeah, the response once all this is lifted, it's going to be very interesting to see what actually happens when everyone is free and everyone starts to reemerge from their homes. You can see it now when you're out. People are skittish of each other right now. I've seen it if I've gone out for a walk or out for a run. Even if I'm passing someone on the sidewalk, we're both veering away from each other, as we pass. I can't make this look right on the camera, but yeah, and there's none of that eye contact. There's none of that friendly wave. Everyone is looking at someone else like they are the carrier of this disease. And when you are just, basically fearful of everyone that you see, it can lead to a very irrational response. If somebody just does one thing wrong, someone coughs too close to you, someone could blow their lid.
Yeah. You talk about what are we going to do when, as a hugger. Remember the old video of Jim Valvano running around on the court after? Yes, that's going to be me.
Running around looking for someone to hug.
Running around looking for somebody to hug. And you don't want to be near me in that moment because I'm going to hug you.
I'm glad I'm a county away. 2 counties away.
I may run that far. I will have pent up energy. But honestly, Kyle, I shared with you earlier that part of this is personal too.
Yeah.
And, um, for me, as I've stepped into this role as pastor, I've started to realize that sometimes it's a pretty lonely spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I had started to deal with some of that. I'd started to talk with somebody. We've talked here that it's not a sign of weakness to go seek help.
Absolutely.
And I had started to talk with somebody,
Sure.
and then this stuff happens.
Yeah.
And loneliness leads to depression, and
That's correct.
loneliness leads to honestly, occasionally unhealthy thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And now, by the grace of God, I haven't gotten to unhealthy thoughts yet.
Right.
But I've been walking the line of I would say for the last couple of weeks, been walking the line of some moments of pretty deep depression. I had a friend ask me the other day, he said, "How you feeling?" And my response had to be, "I'm not."
Yeah. Yeah, we're all getting a little numb right now, aren't we?
Yeah. And, as somebody who is in the midst of, my role is supposed to be to care for others. And, right now it feels like that's been taken from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my family. I do. This isn't a disparaging remark on them at all, but I need people.
Right.
And to sit here and to realize that at least in Leavenworth County,
mm-hmm.
7 more weeks before I can get together a group of more than 10.
Right.
I'm struggling with this right now, but it's deepened my desire to be plugged in more deeply with Jesus, because it's the only place I know to run right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I do, and I'm sure you've seen, and because the isolation that we all are feeling right now, it will lead to depression in a lot of people.
And I think it will, and I think that the thing of it is I'm realizing, man, that right now I've got to get the help that I need before I can be of a support to anybody else.
That's right.
And I think that it's important for all of us, because right now this is a season when all of us are caregivers to the people who are around us.
Yes. And the people around you are kind of caregivers to you as well. Like, it needs to be the full circle of whoever you're kind of quarantined with.
Right. So not only do we need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves so we can provide care for others, but man, we've also got to be willing to receive it from other people.
Right. And that's difficult for a lot of people.
It is.
Yeah, difficult for me. That is something I have struggled with for a long time.
It's a mark of humility.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've learned, and I think the thing that I want to share today is at the beginning of this year, I got challenged to look at my life and start to come up with a new rhythm,
mm-hmm.
because I was being told that the rhythm I was running was not sustainable.
Okay, makes sense.
I mean, anybody who knows me well knows that I don't really have an off switch.
No.
I was challenged at the beginning of this year to discover one,
mm-hmm.
and so I was told, hey, this is what you need to do, and I've taken it seriously. And honestly, I think it's the thing that has kept me. Like I said, I'm digging into the depression stuff, but I haven't gotten to the point where unhelpful thoughts have come in. and is that I got to find a daily release to where I let go I let go of my role as caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
I let go of my role as the guy who has to be up on current events so that I can make sure that everybody's getting reasonably good news and not just getting beaten down by what they're seeing.
Right.
I'm pretty much making sure that for a couple hours a day that I release, I release from my responsibilities. I release from just anything outside of the people that I have the most direct contact with. Mm-hmm. And then on a weekly basis, my role is to retreat, to take a day where I let go. For an entire day, I let go, and my phone's not on, my computer's not open. Mm-hmm. I retreat from the crap that's going on in the world.
Right.
I take a break from it. And then the last bit of it is annually I've got to learn to abandon and let go for a significant season where maybe not for I was challenged to do a week and a half to 2 weeks at one time to where, because, for a guy like me, it takes me about 4 days to wind down out of work and in to relax. Mm-hmm. And then so I can go back to work and actually be ready, I need about 3 days at the end to be able to
start to ramp back up. Yeah.
So, it is but I think my encouragement for folks in this time is, regardless of whether you're doing well right now, because I'm phenomenal if you're doing well.
Yeah.
Or if you're starting to struggle, or if you're really into something, or if you're even further down that struggle road than I am, find a way to release every day and just let it go. And don't listen to the news for a couple hours. Stay off your stupid phone for a couple of hours. Somebody text message you. It will wait. I listened to my dad one time when he was pastoring a church, and he was going on a little trip, and somebody said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "Well, he told him where they were going. He was going. He says, "But you can't reach me." And he said, "Well, what if somebody dies?" And his response was, "They'll still be dead." And it's true. Yeah. A problem that somebody has in your 2 hours of release, either they will solve it or it will still be a problem after your 2 hours of release are done.
That's true. That's true.
Take a day every week to just let go. And whether it be on that day you find a good book, I'll recommend a few if you want.
There you go.
If you discover a new board game with your family, work a puzzle, do something that equates to the news of the day doesn't become what weighs you down. Mm-hmm. Because the truth is, right now, there's not a lot of good news going around.
No, there's really not.
Yeah, man, I think that, like I said, like I was telling you earlier, the mental health thing right now, it's kicking my butt. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I've found that even there is not much normal right now in my life. I've been working from home, so I don't go into my office, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If you guys are wondering where my awesome new background is, that thing is like really big and takes up a lot of space. And since this is also my office, I had to take it down and pack it away for a little bit. But yeah, the working from home, it's strange. And honestly, the most unplugging I've done was Saturday. My daughters and I went out and did yard work. And I normally hate yard work. I am not a person who likes to mow the grass, and I don't want it to be the nicest looking yard and the block. I don't care about that. But while I was outside mowing, and I actually took some trimmers out and was trimming bushes and raking leaves that had blown in, like that was an escape. And it was very weird. I was kind of at peace doing something that was normal, that you normally do during the spring, that has nothing to do with quarantine. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. I was doing something normal. And that was probably the most at peace I've felt since this all began.
Yeah.
So, and again, if me liking yard work is a new normal, that would be okay. But for at least Saturday morning, or no, I'm sorry, Sunday morning, it was a wonderful escape. So I definitely second your idea of find that 1 to 2 hour daily escape.
Yeah. Just get out, be gone, you know,
Yeah.
the, you know, and take some time also. And if you know people who are on the front lines of this stuff, who don't have the privilege of staying home, who
Right.
don't have the privilege of self-quarantining, who are working in the medical field, or working at a restaurant, or working at Walmart. I mean, my
Grocery
goodness,
stores. Yeah.
be nice to the people who are working at Walmart, but thank them for what they're doing, because the truth is they're sacrificing for you.
Oh, absolutely. They are putting themselves at risk. They are putting their actual health at risk to continue to serve us. And I've ordered 2 pizzas during this quarantine period. The tip that the driver got was insane for the amount that I spent on the pizza. But you know what? That's the best way that I can thank them for what they're doing.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
all these
yeah,
restaurants are offering free deliveries. Make sure you take advantage of the discounts on Grubhub. Sometimes just getting some good food makes you feel better.
yep, yeah. It does. It does. And you know, when I'm on, we always end up talking about what does Scripture say about things,
Yeah.
and I've scoured Scripture, and it doesn't say COVID-19 anywhere.
What?
I know,
No.
but here's the deal. It does talk about what our role in this world is, um, and it's to be salt and light, and I think that it's interesting because salt and light are important things. Wars have been fought over salt.
Yeah. Yep. I have.
Well, because of all its value, because of its value in the lives of people. It's medicinal. I mean, my goodness, you get a sprained ankle, and the first thing they tell you is to soak it in Epsom salts.
Yeah. Yep. They
Now,
do.
I don't know how in the world an Epsom salt makes my ankle feel better, but it does.
There you go.
And so, because it's of high value,
Mm-hmm.
it has value for our health, and the same thing with light. I mean, man, part of it is you've been in that basement so much that just being able to get out and feel the sun on your skin,
It made a huge difference. Really did.
that vitamin D or vitamin E or whatever the heck vitamin you get from the sun rays.
Vitamin D.
However the sunshine gives you vitamins.
Just go with it. Go with it.
Going with it, it's important, and this is what we're supposed to be to the people who are around us. We're supposed to be salt, and we're supposed to be light, and so we're supposed to be the place where people can receive some comfort,
Mm-hmm.
and receive some kindness, and receive some goodness, and if we are taking care of ourselves, we can be that to the nth degree for people.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just in this kind of an environment.
Well, and you saw last week I started up 2 Zoom conferences, and I just posted the link out on Facebook. And that was, they were actually really fun. Anyone can join, and it's just a way to talk and interact with people during these times of quarantine. And it was kind of cool on both of them, just different people from my different walks in life who popped in to say hello. So I'm going to keep doing those just because I think people need the interaction, and it's always nice to meet a new person, even if it's over a video conference.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's one of those things where I think it's an interesting, it is interesting. And I think that there's a deepening of understanding of how much we actually need each other.
Yes. Yeah. We need that interaction, that contact.
There was leave it to the Soviets to put people's lives at risk way back in the day, but
Yes.
they did a study with infants where they had two separate groups of infant orphans, you know, and one got all the care from the nurses. They got they got all the food and bathing and everything that they needed, but they didn't get the physical touch, the holding and all that other stuff when they were when they were crying. They didn't get that soothing. They didn't get that physical contact. They didn't get held. They didn't get carried. They just got left.
Right.
In the next room, they got all the same stuff, but they also got the physical contact. And what they found out was that even though the health needs and some of those other things that were happening with the infants in one room, the infants without the physical contact, without the weeness, in essence, they saw 77% mortality rate. And they called it failure to thrive.
Interesting.
Because we need each other, you know, and we need, now adults, there's no such thing as failure to thrive with adults. That, you know, so if we don't get a hug, it's not going to kill us. But
some of us more than others.
Yeah, it might, but the truth of the matter is we never outgrow the necessity for having a we.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people are going to come out the backside of this. You ask, how are people going to respond? I think initially it'll be people will be a little leery of things, but soon I think they'll start to realize we need each other.
Yeah.
This last 6, 7, 8 weeks was miserable. We need each other.
Mm-hmm. I really do hope that people come to that understanding. Like, some of us are already there, and some of us already knew this. You and I know the importance of social interaction. Not everyone did. Hopefully, This is going to teach a very valuable lesson. Right. Yeah. So, man, I got nothing else. Well, that's good, because our video conferencing service kicks you off after about 40 minutes. So we're getting close to the line.
We're there, yeah.
Yeah, so not bad.
The only thing I could say is, who'd have thunk at the beginning of the year that in Kansas City, the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl would be the second biggest story of the year?
The Chiefs winning the Super Bowl brought about the end of the world, just about. So, hey, go Chiefs. The Royals were supposed to have started, I think, a couple days ago. So I'm wearing my Royals stuff because I'm missing baseball something fierce right now.
Got the Royals on the wall up there.
Yep. And you got Jayhawks on the wall. Probably would have won the national title this year.
Yeah, it's just some of those things. The Royals were going to surprise everybody and win 70 games, and
I wasn't going to go that far.
So
I love my Royals, but they were going to be pretty bad this year.
No, they were going to be bad. It was going to be rough.
Yeah,
but it's all good, man. Well, thanks for having me on this evening, man.
Yeah, you bet. We'll do this soon. We're still looking for the formula for success for this show. The move to YouTube only was a little rough. Our last show did not get many views, so we're going to keep looking. We're going to keep trying to figure out all these fickle viewers we have of this show.
Okay, so explain just real fast. How this is going to be aired on Tuesday. So that's tomorrow, since we're taping on Monday. How can people find us?
Well, this episode's being pre-taped. We're going to pre-tape now. Whenever our promotion company is able to get this gussied up and looking good, they'll farm it out there, hopefully by the weekend. But really, the best place, we'll continue to share it on Facebook, everybody. When you see the video posted, share it on Facebook. The only difference is now people have to click the show and it'll take them to YouTube as opposed to a Facebook video. But there's always the website, www.hittingthewallpodcast, all one word, .com. Everything is there. You can buy T-shirts. You can buy hoodies and tank tops.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You don't need to see this in a tank top. It's a bad.
Neither you or I need to be buying a tank top, but it is an option for those who want it.
For those who don't look like me. Hey, so just can I do if I wanted, like if this popped up and I put it on Facebook, even though it's pre-recorded, could I still do like a watch party?
We're gonna have to find out because I am unsure.
Okay.
So
we'll videos.
Yeah, the watch party works out well. So we're gonna have to give that a try. But no, everyone needs to go to hittingthewallpodcast.com. That's where everything is. The Facebook page is still, of course, up and running. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, YouTube, everywhere you find your podcast, you can find this show.
Nice.
So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you, Joe, for joining us from, live in Leavenworth, Kansas. Woohoo, represent. So we'll be back. We'll be back at some point in time with our next new episode, and we'll get that all farmed out for you. So please don't text and drive. Be nice to each other. Obey the stay-at-home orders. Don't go out and get in big groups of people. It's not worth it. Let's get this thing over with so we can all have a good summer. Sound like a plan to everybody?
Sounds like I want to hug people again.
Yeah, Joe wants to hug people. So everyone quit going out. If you can stay home, stay home. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. We will see you next time we see you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Later.